Welcome to the Keelhauled Podcast. I'm your host, Captain Logan, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, I'm going to be talking all about the Plunder Games, what they are, how you can get involved in Sea of Thieves, and it is this month's community episode. We had some great guests on to talk about some thoughts about power creep in Sea of Thieves, as well as the review overall for the Tall Tales, since they haven't had a chance to really talk about it. So all that and more in this week's episode of Keelhauled Podcast. All right, pirates. This week, I have to thank the patrons for supporting me. It means a lot. I had the realization the other day that I have been making podcasts for over 3 years at this point. It's always been a hobby, and I never thought about this until I was listening to another podcast talk about amateur and professional. And I remembered that amateur is just something that you do with enough passion that you just aren't getting paid for yet. But this time, I'm starting to actually get paid for podcasting. So I am now a professional podcaster, and that is because of the folks that I'm going to name off right now. So Bentley Beaver, Chateau Neuf, Chris Horn, Cosmic Johnson, El Jefe Esteban, Trickster, Jabaro5, Kazia the Rogues, Lumpy SRQ, Dub Goose, Evil Morpheus, Xbox Mike 29, Munchie, Papa Fuzz, Regis Stella, Rust Belt Kid, T and Professor, Big Bad Pat, Mina Fairy, Super Pack, Davram TV, Fergatron, Straw Hat Connor, Tech Deku, Windsor Chris, and Zamwow. You are all helping make me into a professional podcaster, which I can put on a resume and help get into a better job where I'm doing something that I love. And I can't do that without you. So thank you. It means the world to me, and I love you so much for that. If you guys have any concerns, questions, comments, hit me up. Let me know. I've got some ideas that I'm going to be playing around with thanks to the help with El Jefe Esteban. I'm going to see if I can do some fun stuff for the patrons in the future. Other than that, I had a really good time watching the Pirates of the Caribbean 4 with you all. Again, August is going to be the Pirates of the Caribbean 5 film. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on that. So join up. We've been watching it in the Discord, patreon.com/Keelhauled Podcast. If you want to know, the links are in the show notes. The support means a lot to me, and I'm going to see if I can start getting back some more stuff for you guys with that. With that, pirates, let's get to the episode. All right, pirates. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we are going to be talking all about the Plunder Games. Now, this is Sea of Thieves' version of the Olympics, but not necessarily in the way that you would imagine. In fact, this is probably the simplest type of thing you can do to really have a Plunder Games kind of thing at all. They are going to be doing some in-game event rewards. So opening ceremony began on July 23rd, which, if you don't know, the Olympics this year are actually from the 23rd of July to the 8th of August in Tokyo, Japan. They are technically the 2020 Olympics, but because of COVID, they had to actually push them back to 2021. So those are going on right now. This event, the Plunder Games, is actually going from July 23rd to August 16th. So there's an additional 8 days on top of the normal time frame that it would normally take. So each day is going to unlock a new event. And from what it looks like, each event is going to reward 9,999 gold, which is kind of a weird number. Not sure why we're going with that, but beginning with each day and opening up each additional day, I'm going to work through all of the different tasks that you can do, so you know kind of what you're expecting going into each day. 2 days are already open up, so it's not too hard. First day opening ceremony, all you had to do, light a beacon with a flame of fate using your lantern to begin the Plunder Games. Today, or the time of recording this, defeat 10 skeletons while they are affected by cursed cannonballs. Easier on a beach. They're giving hints now if you want to do some stuff like that. The next day is going to bring climb up and ring the bell found atop the glorious Sea Dogs Tavern. That is in adventure mode only. So you know that bell that's up at the very top. You don't necessarily have to run the obstacle course. You just have to ring the bell. Next, you've got locate and defeat a megalodon. Yes, it counts as a sport. The next after that is pose with grace and strength as you unlock the vault beneath a skeleton fort. or Fort of Fortune. This does not include the Fort of the Damned. Next, you've got defeat 3 skeletons at once by detonating a nearby gunpowder skeleton. This, I would pay attention the fact that they say that it's a gunpowder skeleton and not just a gunpowder keg. You can't just grab one, take it over to 3 skeletons and get that one. Next, you've got weave this way and that, performing 3 sharp turns while sailing by dropping the anchor. After that, the next day, starting on the 30th of June or July, you've got launch yourself with power and precision from a ship's cannon to land on the deck of another ship. This one is going to be a little bit tougher. That starts in 5 days. The next one after that starts in 6 days. Be swift and nimble to defeat a shark using a gunpowder barrel. Then you've got play a shanty aboard your ship as you and your vessel sink below the waves in unison. The next day after that, unleash the power of flame and burn 3 skeletons at once using a firebomb or a chest of rage. Interesting that they're not letting you use one of those, one of the flamethrowers. After that, you've got sprint and leap across islands until you locate and defeat an Ashen Guardian. That's a stretch. That's a weird stretch there. Not gonna lie. By the way, the Ashen Guardians, for those that may not be acquainted, are the keepers of the voyages that get you voyages for the chests of rage. What are my cats doing? Oh, hold on. All right, they're scratching at the door. I'm home alone with the cats. I don't know what to do. They're gonna get me. I know it. I just don't know when. Anyway, getting back to what I was talking about, the Ashen Guardians are like emergent captains that you'll find on islands, but they are 2 types. There's the Ashen Keymasters and the Ashen Guardians. So the Guardians actually hold the voyage to be able to dig up chests. I can't remember if it's a chest of rage or if it's just one of those lock chests, but I have a feeling it's one of the chests of rage. Anyway, moving into the next one, you have to be able to do, with all your strength, hurl a bucket of vomit over an enemy pirate's brandishing a sword. This is actually, I think, one of the achievements for the game. I can't remember for sure. The day after that, pass the baton by handing a treasure chest over to another crew and having them turn it in. Basically give another crew a chest. That one's starting on the 5th of August. On the 6th of August, run, jump, and swim for loot until you have 5 chests hoarded at once. That's pretty simple. On August 7th, you've got ascend to a skeleton throne or a large throne alongside another crew and sit down. So skeleton thrones. And the last one that starts on August 8th, celebrate the end of the Plunder Games by drinking with another crew while at an outpost. If you can't tell, all of these have a theme of a different event. Hurling, chest relay, Pantheon loot, Track-a-Fiend, Fryathon, synchronized sinking, slalom, human javelin, finastics, which is a play on words for shark fin, trap shooting vault, big game fishing, steeplechase. Oh, volleyball or brawl, volley brawl. I actually like that one. And of course, opening ceremonies. All of these are just ways to earn extra gold. If you the ones that have noticed are already kind of shaking their head, because this is a lot of these are things that you can do as trials in the game for your renown. So anyone that is working on your renown still, this is going to be a good way not only to earn renown for your levels and mark off some of those trials, but you'll also be able to get a fair amount of gold out of these. What is this? 2 weeks worth of gold at 10,000. No, what is that? Yeah, 10,000 gold a piece. So it's a fair amount of gold. Nothing to really shake your head at. And most of these are pretty easy to do solo. You don't really have to worry about being in another crew. The ones that are going to be the toughest, honestly, are going to be the ones where you have to find specific things. So finding an Ashen Guardian is going to be a pain sometimes. Throwing a bucket of vomit over an enemy pirate brandishing a sword, that's going to be tough. I'm curious to know if that's something you can do in arena or not, because you may have to have some friends help you out with that one. Other things like that, giving a chest over to another crew, it doesn't say that it can be any, like a skull. It has to be a chest. It can't be a keg. So things like that. I'm pretty sure most everyone's going to get onto a small skeleton throne. I'd be really surprised if people are looking for another crew to use one of the larger thrones. Celebrating the end of the Plunder Games with drinking with another crew in an outpost. That one's going to be a little bit harder if you aren't able to find a crew with that. So this is one of those instances where I will actually recommend join up into the Discord. Keep an eye out for people who are building up fleets, and to the Keelhauled crew, keep in mind that a lot of people are going to want to have some help with some of these too. So if you're able to get a couple ships on a server, if that's something that's in your forte there, try and fill them up with some folks to make sure that people are getting these. The one thing that I have to mention again, this is ending with the unlocks on the 8th of August, and you get till the 16th of August to complete these. So you get a full 8 days to be able to try and do all of these if you want. So if you want to wait, till August to start working on these, give it a 7 days, work on knocking all of them out in like a weekend sale session. That's a good way to do it. Try and get as many of the early ones done as possible, or just wait until the 8th of August when all of these are going to be unlocked and spend the next week working on those. But with the way most people generally play the game, you're going to be doing it on the weekend and in shorter sessions than most people that have a lot of time, or if this is their one game. The folks that have it as their one game, if you knock this out pretty early on, try and cycle in some people, especially if it's something where you've already got the cannons lined up for a skeleton throne, or you've already got another ship set up and people are already able to get theirs knocked out. Check and see if anyone in the Discord needs to get some of those taken care of or knocked off, and make it easier for others to get those checked off, just so they can get the gold. If anything, 10k is pretty nice for this many days to be able to work through it. I can't even think how many days that is. What is that? 7 plus another 8. Is that 15 days? 15 days worth of 10,000, so 150,000. I'm good with that. That's a pretty hefty chunk. That's a good voyage for a night that you can knock out on top of the stuff that you're generally doing. Overall thoughts for this? It's interesting. It's a really, I was not expecting them to do Plunder Games. I genuinely was curious what we were going to be having for the next event. But when it turned out to be Plunder Games, I didn't see this coming. And we got an email before any announcement too, which is really strange too. The one thing that I will say is going on right now is Sea of Thieves looks to be doing a Sea of Thieves TV show on Fridays. I don't know if this is going to be something that persists, but yeah, that's on Weekly Adventures on Friday, the 23rd. It looks like it's something that's going to be going on 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, noon on Eastern Coast, and 5 p.m. on British Standard Time, or 6 p.m. GMT. I don't know what the conversion is for Australia folks, but I think it's the following day, earlier in the morning. So apologies to you guys who want to watch this, but they're doing Sea of Thieves television, and I don't know if this is their new version of a weekly stream. I'm still kind of wondering when the next episode of the podcast is going to happen. I have not received any emails asking me to take over those duties yet, so until that happens, you guys will have to wait for them to put it out on their own. One thing that I will say that actually was kind of awesome, Tamaz, who is one of the old salts in Sea of Thieves, went and did something amazing today. I was not expecting this, and I was shown off this artwork that he did when I was just about to actually record the podcast with the Keelhauled members. We were doing our community episode, which you'll hear as soon as I finish up with this. But shout out to Tamaz, who is got a sheep icon, which I still don't understand. But they went and did custom artwork livery sets for community members, like Race of Legends. Since ironically last episode I was talking to Doug, and Dread Pirate Doug doesn't have Race of Legend livery sets, even though he really should have some sales to give away to people who run the Race of Legends and win. But he did some livery sets, and I'm going to leave a link in the show notes. The Keelhauled Discord members have already seen it, hopefully, but the Race of Legends, the Sea of Thieves community group, my podcast, the Merfolk's Lullaby group, and the Ancient Isles University group all got livery sets custom designed to see as like a concept of what these communities could show off for their livery sets. And I kid you not, if there was a way that I could grab like a list of the active members for the Discord and, you know, see like who's you know, just hanging out or who's actually participating with the community, and give out codes for the livery set that Tamaz did for these like communities, like I totally would, because the Keelhauled one is so cool. It's so amazing. It is a green base with white accenting. The sails have green from top sail to bottom, with the red gradient coming up just like the icon, with the cross swords and the eye patch skelly skull on just above it. The front of the ship is covered with red, as if the gradient is starting red and then bleeding into green for the back of the ship. It looks like, I literally, like if I was sailing this, it looks like I had rammed like a megalodon and the blood had just stained the front of the ship, except for the white parts of the accent. It's absolutely amazing. I love it. I love the Sea of Thieves community one as well too. It's all white with very beautiful kind of wispy clouds of blue, and tentacles that are going up around the Reaper's Mark for the actual sails. The Race of Legends one is amazing because it's basically a green and gold motif, and it's got like a racing, like a finishing flag in gold and green for the top sail for the flag, and it's got the Race of Legends with, you know, little dashed lines leading to different islands with the flags on it, and the ROL for the logo and stuff. Absolutely amazing. I love these so much, and he did such a great job of showing just what community-based livery sets could be for Sea of Thieves. And I mean, I would genuinely love for Rare to do stuff like this, not just because it would, you know, benefit my community, because I still wonder how relevant the Keelhauled podcast is for Sea of Thieves. I know the old salts are out there shaking their fists like, how dare you? But I'm not a streamer. Really, I don't have as much influences like they do for that kind of thing in my mind. But this is like so cool to be included with this that I was just blown away. And I had to record the podcast like as he was showing me this stuff, and I didn't want to mention it to anyone until after I was done, because I didn't want it to dominate the conversation. But it's really awesome that's a thing. The other thing that I wanted to talk about too was we had the Sea of Thieves, like Doug and I mentioned this last episode. So if you wanted to understand kind of where the emphasis of this is, the Sea of Thieves shot contest ended and a ton of people won. They expanded the number of people that were going to win the contest. I never did get my Jurassic Park photos in, and I'm bummed about that because I kept telling myself I would do it. I didn't ever bother to hit up Caleb to see if he could help me get the shots in. I love all of the people that managed to get some of the winners for it, at least on the Twitter. They had like Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. They had like I can't think of what the movie is. It's John Travolta where he's dancing. It's the disco one. I can't remember what it is. You guys will tell me in notes and in the Discord and stuff, but they've got that. You got like Karate Kid dancing or like balancing on a boat on the lake. They're so good. The Peter Pan one on the top sail one. That one actually won. I saw over on Instagram that the Tarzan one with Jane and Tarzan one. It's like there's so many of these were just so good, so creative. I'm so impressed with the community, and man, if they could do a round 2 of these, I would love to see what some other people came up with for ideas as far as like trying to recreate scenes from films in Sea of Thieves. Well done. Congrats to everyone that won. Super impressed. It was such a cool thing to be able to check out. That's it as far as news is concerned. We don't really know if we're getting any more events after the Plunder Games. The Plunder Games is kicking up again. That's in full swing right now. We've got another 13 days, I think, of things that unlock, and then you've got another 8 days after they're all unlocked to actually be able to finish those up. So make sure you're paying attention to the events tab to try and knock some of those out, especially if you're working on renown. Those are going to help you get extra gold as well as experience, since some of those things are technically trials. And with that, I think it's time to jump into this episode with the community members. Thank you all for your patience. I had a great time chatting with them, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. Today, I have with me the Gold Hoarders. It is the monthly Keelhauled Gold Hoarder episode. And this week, I think we've got some fun topics that we're going to be covering. I wanted to talk about a topic that covers Sea of Thieves and some potential woes that I might have for the game in the future, given the trajectory that we're on right now. That was actually spurned upon by one of the Gold members themselves. So let's go ahead and break down who's here and who's going to be chatting with us. We've got Captain Munchie. How are you doing? Welcome.
I'm doing dandy. Fine. Definitely not burning.
Yeah, stay cool, everyone. It's a hot summer this week. And then we have El Jefe Esteban. How are you doing? Sorry, I had to drag you away from Zelda.
It's all good. I am doing well.
Awesome. Mina Ferry, back again. Welcome. How are you?
Hello, I'm all right. Melting.
I'm so sorry. And of course, we have Big Bad Pad joining us. Pad, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well today. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, two topics that that I figured we could cover. I wanted to talk about the topic of power creep and to tall tales from the community perspective. If you've been listening to the podcast, you know, at the end of the first month, this group joined in and we all discussed the first tall tale pretty early on, hopefully not to spoil too much for anyone. But I did want to get their feelings on the later half of the tall tales 2 through 5. I broke these down with Caleb in an earlier episode if you want to hear my thoughts. So I will open up the floor to them and get their feedback, their feelings on them, if anything stuck out for them. But first, I wanted to talk about Sea of Thieves and something that I have concerns about. And this is something that I think is I'm not alone in. Pad, before we started recording, had mentioned this as well. But I have a fear of Sea of Thieves dealing with power creep, which it's hard to actually describe how this works without using a MOBA reference, because in most games, you don't have to worry about this. With most games, games are balanced well enough that you don't have this issue of becoming so powerful, or the vice versa, that enemies are becoming so powerful that you hit this roadblock in the game where it feels like you're either progressing to the point where everything is just completely meaningless, nothing is really a challenge, and you just blow through all the content, or the exact opposite happens where you hit a brick wall and you don't know how to get around it because the game didn't prepare you well enough to tackle the challenges that came with this. In a game that has horizontal progression where nothing is actually getting stronger, there's just more of it. We're running into a situation that Pad brought up that I will let him kind of take the floor and describe, but I'm starting to wonder if maybe there's just a little too much in Sea of Thieves, and the content that was a drought at the beginning of the game 3 years later has now supplanted that thought with maybe we have too many things in the game. But Pad, what were your thoughts on this? You brought this up. I wanted to give you the floor. And I know Munchie, you were feeling the same way as well. So take it away.
Yeah, because obviously with the tall tales, they've brought in the new enemies, which I just call crustaceans or ghosties. I think we were doing an Athena, and we'd got to the emissary mission and going to the islands for the digs. And you get off the boat onto the island, and there are already the crustaceans on the beach. Not a problem. Deal with that. Then the skellies pop up, and you get the ghosties. And there can be times where you are fighting in excess of 20 enemies, and there's only one or possibly two of you on the beach, and you've only been there for 20 seconds. I wholeheartedly enjoy the new enemy types. My one issue with the ghosties is their lunge attack, or where they disappear and then lunge at you from nowhere and take half your health. But my other concern is you either get nothing, but like you say, in terms of get there and you can quite happily go and do your dig, or you end up with too many enemies. And the diversity is brilliant, but just the quantity of trying to fight over what would have been a 20-second dig on an island turns into a 5-minute battle before you can even do the dig.
Yeah.
So hopefully hopefully it's a simple fix that they can obviously just turn down or off some of the enemies that spawn, because whilst it's nice having different ones, I just don't really want all of them at the same time.
It seems kind of crazy, right? Like Munchie, you were talking how you like it, but do you think that there needs to be like restrictions on islands? Like they need to lock out other types of enemies, so much in the same way that enemy or islands have 2 types of animals. Do they need to do something about like making sure only 2 types of enemies spawn on islands, and you have to know where those are, or have them kind of fit thematically depending on where you are? Like what would you feel about this?
To an extent, I don't think it needs to be segregated to different islands. I feel that it just needs to be tweaked to as the spawn rate isn't insanely high, because take into account that there's not people that go and cruise, so fighting them, like Pat said, will turn into 20 seconds of getting the item, getting back on the ship, to 5 minutes of drawing out, just killing separate enemies. Well, I get the ocean crawlers, because if you kill them, you get a chance on getting a siren gem, which usually is the same thing of a mermaid gem. Usually it's worth the cost, but it's just not worth the time. I feel, though, that the ghosts enemies do need some tweaking, or at least to the point where there's some payoff of having to deal with them too. Because like Pat said, for some reason, if you see one with a blunder and they just teleports away with the same distance that you were to shoot it with a blunder, it would do no damage, but for some reason it just almost one-shots you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's Hefe, Mina, do you guys feel this kind of sentiment? Is this something where it doesn't bother you?
It's mixed feelings. It kind of depends. I feel like it's worse on smaller islands, because you just have less landmass, and the spawn rates seem to be similar between those and big islands. At least with big islands, you've got more room to kind of maneuver around in. But there is times where I just feel like that. There was a time in the game when Skelly spawn rate was excessive, and they dialed that back. I think you just need to tweak the spawn rates. I mean, it's and even the same thing with the sirens too. I mean, if you get, you got a couple crews together, like we're fighting somebody, you get in the water and sirens pop up. It's very possible to have 1 to 2 dozen sirens swimming around in the water, and plus sharks. I mean, it can get crazy, both on land and sea. And I absolutely love all the new enemy types, but I do think that there just needs to be a little tweaking going on with the spawn rates.
I love the new enemy types as well. I do feel like the others have said that sometimes the spawn rate can be a bit excessive. I liken the sirens to the Hydra, because you get 3 spawning on you, and you kill one, and another 3 spawn, and every time you kill one, it seems like another 3 spawn, till it's just get out of the water and leave. But I like them, but yeah, it's sometimes you can spend, like Patty said, 5 minutes fighting them before you can do anything, and they don't even drop stuff, especially the ghosts. They don't drop anything.
Yeah, I've definitely had a couple instances where I'll go to try and actually just get supplies. Like I'll just do a drive-by and try and pick up some supplies. And while I'm going there, there'll be like one of the eel crustaceans, and it'll have a shield on from one of the crab bosses. And it's like, it's in my way and it's attacking me. So I can't get the barrel, and I'm just like, I can't kill it because I'd have to go disrupt the shell thing. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just wanted to get supplies. That's all I wanted to do. I don't want to have to die to get a couple bananas and some planks. Do you think, like, it seems like everyone's in agreement though that the design is great and that the variety is great, but they're just really, really ramped up on the spawn rate. Is that something that, if that's tuned, would that be enough? Mina, you mentioned that the ghosts don't drop anything. Pat, I think you agree as well. What would be a something that could remedy that? Because skeletons at the moment, unless you're a captain, skeletons don't actually drop anything, but those don't bother us. So what is it about the ghosts that feel like they deserve to have loot?
Ooh, I have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
So make it to where, like, you know how sometimes named captains can spawn out of nowhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do it to where that, yeah, those little groups of ghosts can still spawn, but sometimes make it to where there's a chance to where there's also a named ghost that can spawn. And you know how there's the skulls of the damned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make it to where that named ghost captain or whatever drops one as well.
So you're thinking same thing as like skeleton captains, but in a ghost variety.
Or also make it to where if that named captain does get killed and you end up killing it, make it to where it drops, say, a map or maybe a riddle.
Oh, hey, what if they dropped a message in a bottle quest that was similar to the ghost ship voyages? So like you killed the captain, now go kill the fleet.
That would actually be a good way to prompt the fleet hunts. That'd be pretty good.
Anyone else have any ideas?
I don't think the ghosts necessarily need to drop anything, like the island skeletons that spawn on you every so often when you're on islands don't drop anything. I think they just need to be maybe dialed back a little bit so that they're still there and there's still something that gets in your way, as it were, but maybe not to the extent that they do at the moment.
Okay. F.A., I know you were wanting to jump in there.
Yeah, I mean, I see it both ways. I mean, I get that regular skellies have not dropped anything ever, unless it was a captain. So, I mean, maybe having the idea of I like what Munchie said about maybe just the random chance that, you know, one of the ghosts is a captain and, you know, drop us something, you know, whatever that something is. But I think just that in general, I just think the main issue is just that you just feel like you're swarmed every time you touch an island, and extra work that has to go involved to, you know, do whatever it is you're doing there. It can become a little frustrating.
There have been times where we've turned up to islands and not bothered going on the island because there's been a skelly captain or the island skellies have spawned, and then the crustaceans have spawned as well, and they end up fighting each other. It's like, well, we'll sit here and watch this for a couple of minutes first. I understand why they're doing it, because they are enemies. But yeah, just tone it down a bit. Have it like the animals, so you get 2 of the 3, not all 3.
Or have something, there's got to be some programming way where, like, so there's 3 types of enemies, right? You've got your ocean crawlers, you got your phantoms, and you got your skellies. You know, just make it to where only 2 of the 3 can spawn at any time, and if you kill all of, say, type A, then type C then can spawn because type B is still there. Something like that. It just needs to be balanced a little bit in some way, shape, or form. Or let them be able to attack each other. I know, like right now, the ocean crawlers will attack skellies. Sometimes you'll see past an island and you'll see this wad of just action going on. You look over there and there's ocean crawlers just waylaying on a captain. So I don't know what the right answer is. I just know that a tweak of some sort needs to happen in some way just to kind of balance it out, because I just feel like it's a little out of balance at the moment.
So this kind of jumps into the idea of power creep in my mind, where it's starting to get to the point now where a lot of players are starting to notice just how much Sea of Thieves is tending to PvE you. And posing it to you all, feel free to jump in if you have a thought on it. Do we need to figure out a way to scale back some of what's going on? Does Rare need to hold off on introducing any new enemy types until this gets worked out? Or is everything okay? They just need to cut back the spawn rate. Are you happy with the number of threats in the world? Because the sheer number of threats that we have in Sea of Thieves vastly outnumbers the number of hostile human ships that could be going out there. And is there a point where Sea of Thieves has so much going on that you can't even do like a standard mission anymore? Like, has it gotten to that point yet for you?
No, I'm not there yet. But the frustration level definitely has increased. Number of enemy types, I think, is fine. I really enjoy the variety. I think that was something that's been needed for a long, long time. So, you know, kudos to Rare for that. I mean, you can still get things done. It's just that you just have to make sure that you've got something more than bananas on you if you hop off on an island. I mean, you just have to change your mindset of you have to be prepared for toxic PvE just like you would if you're getting ready to go into a PvP battle.
I like to refer to what I said earlier. I bank it all on risk to reward, whether or not doing all that is worth, the blood and sweat and tears, so to speak. I personally, in terms of to player threats, to entity threats or environment threats, I believe it does need to scale down just a tad to the point to where it's not turning digs into an absolute royale, to say the least, because there's times where I'm with my crew, it's usually a 4-man. We usually either load up nowadays Athena or Reapers, but since most of the crew has already maxed out Reapers, we've focused Athena or maybe even Order of Souls, because we also have a couple in our group that have not reached Pirate Legend from time to time. I think we still have one more we have to fix, but when it comes to player threats, the new influx of players have usually decreased that because not many people are as, violent, so to speak. So I feel like decreasing the amount of environment threats would be a good balance. I don't know. That's more of my view on it.
Awesome. Anyone else have any quick feelings on this, or are you guys pretty sated with the power creep conversation?
Ooh. And way to fix, because I don't know if I probably just never noticed it, but some new players probably don't have no way to effectively fight the newer enemies. So I feel like maybe if they're new and they're into their first 10 hours of play into the game, maybe allow them to have a title card that gives them a tip or something about how to effectively fight the ocean crawlers or the phantoms, because I know damn well that they will have a bit of a problem for that.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Do they have that for the skellies?
Technically, in the Maiden's Voyage, you do kill a Skelly.
Yeah,
it's
they do
tied
have
to
an
a tree.
Skellies don't have a barrier protecting them at times. Then you have to find a specific one to go and hit that one to then be able to hit the rest of them. So, yeah, there's possibly some instruction to assist newer players.
The worst variation in the Skellies is either the gold Skellies, the phantom Skellies, or the bomb Skellies, which I feel might need a tip or two, but that's more of a cut and dry kind of situation. A new player will learn, I should probably not hit them at melee range if they have a keg, or they seem to also lose their ability to dodge my hits if they're in the light. It's more of a trial and error that we learned, but tips would help the newer players figure that out easily, because some just don't look it up. They want to figure it out themselves, or they want the game to teach them.
Yeah, I suppose things like that, and the fact that we were lucky in the fact that we were playing the game when these new additions were made, and so we knew that we had to get a lantern to be able to fight the shadow skellies. So we've learnt that because it was installed in the game when we were playing. Whereas obviously the people coming into the game now, especially for the Tall Tale stuff, they won't have that information, I suppose.
Yeah. Have it go ahead.
I've kind of had that same general feeling of, we've had a conversation multiple times before of can you imagine being a brand new player to this game right now with you load in and everything that's going on? It's like, first of all, where do I even start? What does all this even mean? I mean, the nice thing about those of us that's been playing now for years is that this has all kind of been, piecemealed in, and so it's all built upon itself, and everything makes sense to an experienced player. But to a brand new player, it could be overwhelming, I think. Sure.
So I think here Munchie, I like the suggestion. The one thing that I would tack onto that, if I could, is in a lot of games where you have tutorial systems built in organically to what you're doing, if it's not something that's actually designed in the game so that you learn through trial, much in the way that the Maiden Voyage teaches you how to attack a skeleton, there's an opportunity for you to give players information on how to deal with what they're dealing with, but there's also an option in the settings that allow you to either turn off and or reset those tutorials. So a lot of players that may be playing the game started out and have experienced most of it, but maybe have lapsed and are coming back. If they haven't played through the Tall Tales and they don't have any interest into them, they may not learn how to deal with those different types of enemies. So having something that pops up during the first encounter that they come across them that says, hey, these are a new enemy type. This is how you can, these are the different things that you can expect with these. If you'd like to turn off these tips, head into the settings, accessibility, tutorial, checkbox, and give players the agency to either discover this stuff for themselves or to have those hints baked into the mix, so that if you want to know but you don't have any, like, I imagine a lot of people are probably playing it or trying it for the first time, don't have a crew, haven't sailed very much, get off the outpost after the Maiden's Voyage and want to go visit an island and try and figure out what to do, and not having information on how to defeat some of the enemies like a gold skelly or a shadow skelly or a crustacean can be very painful of an experience and a frustrating run, especially when there aren't any health bars on any of the enemies that we deal with. So there's no visual feedback for people to know what they're doing is right or wrong. In most cases, sometimes you hit it with you hit a gold skelly. I've seen plenty of pirates hitting gold skellies with swords repeatedly, thinking that it's doing what they're doing. It just has a heavier health pool, instead of understanding that there's a rust and projectile mechanic built into those skellies. And without people to take their hand and pull them over and be like, hey, go get it wet and then shoot it with a gun, they're never going to learn that, because there's nothing that informs them of how to do that. And that's fine, because some people are going to discover it naturally if they see skeletons walking through a pool of water and they rust up and start to creak, but others are never going to get that experience, or maybe it may be a long time before they find that kind of stuff out. I see pirates every day learning stuff about the game that they're just, I had no clue that was a thing. I had no clue that the rowboat had brakes on it, and I always just thought you had to row in a certain way and get lucky. And then they eventually implemented tips into the game to explain how the rowboat works for people that are jumping in who missed it during the launch of the Devil's Roar. So I'm with you guys on that. I definitely think that that's a great way to try and educate the player base, especially considering how many new players are jumping in.
It's just like you said, it's a learning curve. That's about it. It's once a player gets over that learning curve, it's usually a smooth sail from there. No pun intended.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great pun. I say go with it. Awesome. Well, if everyone's good on power creep, I wanted to get some feelings in on the Tall Tales. Ahoy there, pirates. This is the ad for this episode, and I did want to let you know, if you wanted to avoid these and just get a regular filler, you can head over to the Patreon. There's a special feed just for patrons that get the ad-free version. If you want to keep listening, though, I can't say I blame you, because this week I want to let you know about Loot Crate and getting 15% off of most crates and crate subscriptions when you use the link and code RobotsRadio in the show notes. Also, you can head over to audiobooks.com, get your first 3 audiobooks for free, and that can include any 2 VIP books, or use the affiliate link for Green Man Gaming. If you're a PC gamer or you'd like to save money on games, it's one of the benefits of being a PC gamer. Head over to Green Man Gaming. You can get codes for Steam, Epic, any of the different stores that they have deals going on. They have deals going on all the time, and if you plan on buying there, please consider using our affiliate link. All of that goes straight to me through the network. Thank you all so much for everything that you do to support this podcast. It means the world to me, and I continue to try and improve the quality and the content for you. With that, pirates, let's get back to the show. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we talked about Tall Tale 1. Some of us were here for that, some of us weren't. But I wanted to get everyone's feedback on the later Tall Tales. So I'll leave it up to you guys and just kind of let you decide which ones you wanted to jump on. But given the nature of the tall tales, I figured we could start off with 2, go to 3, 4, and then 5. If that's okay with everyone.
I mean, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I mean, I've done 1, 2, and 5 mainly because my experience is that when it first launched, they were heavily bugged, but I've still seen bits and pieces of it here and there of the other 2 that I haven't even experienced. But they're still fun. It's honestly they took the time in making these. I mean, they're not insanely long like the original Tall Tales, but they do have their bit of shock and awe, so to speak.
Awesome. Well, I guess that's a really good question. Has everyone gotten a chance to complete all of them? Munchie mentioned that he hadn't, but has everyone else?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, we've done.
Yep.
Okay. Munchie, I'll leave it up to you, depending on how spoiled you want to be on them.
Oh, you can go ahead and spoil it. I'm perfectly fine. I like I said, I've seen the other 2 Tall Tales from a different perspective, but it's fine.
Okay. Well, let's start off with 2 then. How the Sunken Pearl, a great tall tale. It had a ton of bugs at the beginning. I think Rare did a great job in hot fixing a lot of the issues. I still think that people that run into other crews there are going to have a little bit of a trouble with that. But I feel like most people who wanted to get them have gotten at least that one done in this instance, and are probably not going to run into the same issue again to get a more clear experience. But how did everyone feel about going down into the depths for the first time and really getting a chance to explore what this coral city is like?
I really liked kind of the new environment. I mean, we've been screaming for a map expansion for a long time now, and instead of going, north, south, east, or west, they went down, and I'm good with that. I think there's probably opportunity in the future to do even more things with that kind of expansion, but with the Tall Tale in general, I liked it. I learned pretty quick about the whole, if there's another crew down there, hang it up, just quit, find a new server, and by me doing that, I didn't have to deal with many of the bugs. We had a couple of them here and there, but nothing like some of the people were having. I think the key is make sure you're by yourself. But story-wise, it was good. I think it was really cool seeing the kind of the Kraken swimming, kind of outside the structure as you're going along, and finally getting to see the full body of it. It's one of those things kind of wanted. I've wanted since day one. So in general, I liked it. It was good.
I think they're onto a winner anyway. Rare and Disney are both quintessential storytellers, and so you knew you were going to get a very good story out of it. I just didn't realise how good a story, but also the new mechanics that were brought in terms of statues and levers and frayable ropes, etc. So yeah, it was awesome. We were unlucky the first attempt. We went down, I think, with another 2 crews, and it was just got stuck halfway along, and it's like, well, we can't go anywhere. So we did, as Hefe said, we just quit out, start another server, go and do it yourself. I think on the 3rd attempt we actually managed to get all the way through, but it was awesome. They're all awesome for different reasons, but yeah, I'd quite have. Well, we have gone back and done it 2 or 3 times because we have other people that aren't available every single day to sail, so they come on once or twice a week, and so we'll go back and do 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think we've got 5 to do again with Matt, but yeah, I'd quite gladly go and do Tall Tales all day.
Yeah, definitely don't forget about Mina. Mina, how did you feel about the Tall Tales, or 2 at least?
I loved them. I was with Paddy when we did them, and yeah, the first time round it was a nightmare. But we got it done because we just decided that we would just only do it if there was nobody else around, and it was not a problem then. The story's really good, and all the different things you have to interact with, I really liked it, and it's beautiful, so pretty.
Oh my god, it's so good. I love the song that you get when you're swimming down and the debris is kind of leading you down into that area. And just as it opens up, like as soon as you get down to the bottom and everything kind of lightens up and you get to see the black pearl and the tower and Oh God, it's so majestic. It's such a good job.
It was more of just a general overall thought about all of the new Tall Tales. Story-wise, they're incredible. The mechanic-wise, I love the new mechanics. I love the new enemy types. In general, very, very pleased with what Rare and Disney did. My one criticism, maybe, I feel like it was this across all 5 of them. Everything seemed very, I don't know the right word. It's almost like you were on a roller coaster ride, and you didn't really have to do a whole lot of real effort in terms of like fighting and stuff. Like it didn't feel. It felt like it was made for people who were there just to kind of experience it more so than actually go in and actually get in the middle of a knockdown, drag out fight. That very well may have been by design, and if it is, that's totally okay, totally fine. But it was just one thing that I noticed over and over. It's like, it's just, just feel like that I don't really do a whole lot to progress things forward in terms of interacting with enemies.
Yeah. Munchie, I think you wanted to jump in.
I don't know. I was just interjecting at what Hefe said, and it's more of scripted as you go than figuring it out yourself or moving it along at your own pace, really.
Yeah, I definitely recognize the linear experience, the kind of on rails feel that you're talking about, Hefe. Coincidentally enough, I've been playing through Skyward Sword on my Switch because it just recently got released, and I feel the exact same way about that Zelda game compared to something like Breath of the Wild. Like Breath of the Wild is a very open game and allows you to really kind of explore and traverse and find all kinds of little hidden secrets, and you get rewarded for that. Not unlike adventure mode in Sea of Thieves, you can really kind of go wherever you want, do whatever you want, and explore and get rewarded for that. Whereas the Tall Tales definitely feel like they are taking you down a path. They're trying to tell you a story, and they're trying to deliver on an experience that is akin to the ride, but the films as well. I am kind of curious, and if you have something you want to touch on with the Tall Tales in general, feel free to jump in. But has anyone, as we get into 3, has anyone been to Disneyland or Disney World, experienced Pirates of the Caribbean going into Tall Tale 3, where we kind of traverse the ride as well as a majority of the center points for the different films? And if you have, how does it compare? And if you haven't, did this feel like a worthwhile experience? Did it give you an opportunity to experience something that you haven't seen, and kind of push you out to YouTube to check videos of what it's actually like?
So I've never been to Disney World. It's just one of those things that I've never got around to doing it. But after going through Tall Tale 3, it really solidified in myself that, okay, I've got to get there and go experience, because it was doing it with someone who had been to Disney World multiple times and just watching them just geek out over the whole thing. I thought it was really cool to kind of see them just gush over all the minute detail and just that Rare and Disney put into that, just how well it was done. It really made me want to go to Disney and experience it for myself.
I've been to the Pirates of the Caribbean ride once. I feel that what they did for sailing through the swamp on either a rowboat or whatever was supposed to pay heavy nod towards the ride, but both the ride for Pirates of the Caribbean and the Tall Tale, they're both enjoyable in their own experiences, and both you kind of sit back and watch everything happen, but yes, you're also a part of it in the sense that it's fun to experience at your own pace.
Definitely. Speaking to the town, I'm curious if you've gotten a chance to run around that town. Did you like having that atmosphere? Was that something that could be translated to adventure mode? Do you think that you would want to have a pirate town and have different NPCs kind of hanging out doing their own thing, or do you like the way that the outposts are now and don't want that changed?
I think a couple of us have actually said that in the past, that we have all these outposts who have 7 people on them, and it's like that's all they ever have unless there is another crew there. It would be nice to have was it Sea of Thieves France put out a video on I think it was. I've watched that this morning. That was absolutely brilliant. That's the sort of thing I'd want on that spire in the centre of the map, because it is totally unused for 99% of the game.
Yeah, definitely.
You have this ideal position in the centre of the map to put NPCs who could give you voyages, could give you everything. I still don't understand why there isn't more going on at that centre spire.
I feel that if they were to do that, just make it a more populated area, I feel that, yes, we did just get into a map expansion, but I feel if for some reason they were able to incorporate another area into the Sea of Thieves within the Shroud, or the Shroud expanding a little bit, I feel that if they were to add like maybe a Tortuga-based looking place, or maybe with more buildings and stuff, like more people, more NPCs like sitting around, I feel that a more lively feel to it would probably attract even more people. See that, oh, more stuff's gonna happen. Hey, I want to play some more, all that.
Yeah, that's kind of my feeling on a lot of what we're doing. If it's one thing that I would actually kind of get your thoughts on, with Tall Tale 3, we got Tortuga in the form of, well, it's not technically Tortuga, technically it's the town that's from the actual ride, and it's heavily implied that the fort that we run into before is a Spanish fort. We finally got a couple of the things that I wanted in the game, which was I wanted a fort defense mechanic in the game where you're kind of fighting against crews to protect a fort, to defend it. Unfortunately, it felt very watered down to me when Black Dog Briar showed up with 3 galleons and started laying siege to the actual fort. Everything felt very, very much like a facade. Like nothing was really actually doing anything. With the town, there's an actual point where Barbossa's 1 galleon actually takes out the clock tower, and it changes the actual atmosphere, and it changes the actual environment. And when you're looking at 3 galleons laying siege to a fort, and the fort has 4 cannons at the top of it, I was kind of disillusioned to the attack that takes place, because in earnest, Black Dog Briar is there to get Jack Sparrow, and for some reason they think that Sparrow is being locked up at the fort, but there's no Spanish soldiers on the floor to help you attack the crew. It's just you and your crew, and you're dealing with an onslaught of ghost pirates that show up on the beach. And it felt like there was an idea, and they accomplished what the base of the idea was, but it didn't have the scope or scale that I was hoping for when I realized, after I got past the point of traversing the different elements of that fort, that what was going to happen was an actual assault on that fort. And while I think that they did a great job with what they set out to do, at the end of it, I felt like I was just kind of left shrugging and wondering, was this intended to be something more amazing? Have I been shortchanging myself by only having one person with me at the time? Like I've only ever done that solo, or I've only ever done that once with my wife, and that's it. I've never gone in with a galleon crew and experienced it that way. So is that something that is better appreciated with more players, or did it feel lackluster to anyone else?
That kind of piggybacks to my general overall feeling about all of them. In that regard, I felt like they were all lackluster, regardless of crew size.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on that fort, there is only 1, maybe 2 cannons that are actually accessible to players. So it doesn't matter how big your crew is, you have to take it in turns to take a shot with the cannon to get the commendation.
Oh yeah, when you're dealing with Barbossa's ship, right?
Yeah, that's at the town, not at the fort. The fort, you just sit back and watch the Spanish shooting, and it's 3 of the cannons, because one of the cannons, the cannoneer, is cowering in a corner.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that. Yeah, he's not even participating where you could take his cannon.
Yeah, it's like, would you get up and actually fight, or let me use your cannon, please?
So did you feel like that was worthwhile? Like, did you feel like that was a good climax to that scenario, or would it have been better if you could have actually tried to sink the other galleons?
It was a nice part of the story. I would have quite liked to have been able to use some of those cannons that are sitting there doing nothing and shoot back at them, just as part of an interaction before going down to the beach. Because otherwise you're just standing there and it's like, okay, we help?
Yeah.
But I guess I get why it was done the way that it was done, because that particular tall tale is we were reliving Jack's memories, right?
Yes. Well, we were in his memories, which were crafting the Sea of the Damned. I still have question on whether or not it took place in the present, because we could interact with them. So I'm not sure. Like that is a really good question. Like, are we just interacting with memories, or is something going on in the Sea of the Damned that just happens to be taking place in a world that is crafted from memories?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I gotta have those same questions. Like, part of it, you feel like you are, in Harry Potter when he goes into the pensive and sees the memories of whatever. You can't interact, but it's all happening all around. There's parts that really felt like that, but then at the same time, there were parts that you did interact with, and so it was I just found it a little confusing. Maybe
I actually have a comparison to make to this from what I can understand. Have you ever played Dragon Age Inquisition?
No, it's on my list though.
So in the Dragon Age, actually all the games, there's this thing called the Fade, which is essentially, I guess you could say, the afterlife, so to speak, where souls go.
Mm-hmm.
But it's mostly inhabited by spirits. And in Dragon Age Inquisition, Solus says, "Oh, the fate isn't a sort of representation of the battle, because if he goes to a spot where a great battle was fought, it was between two different armies, where every one of the perspectives of the spirits was different, because where some would see a great general leading them into battle, while the other side would see it differently, as to a warmonger leading in barbarians against them." So what I'm thinking is that it's not just Jack's memories, but it's the people that it was also based around that also see something different. So I think that's also tying into what happens in the Sea of the Damned.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Mina, what were you thinking?
Well, Happy was saying about it's the fort is part of Jack's kind of memories, as it were, but the town is part of them as well. And you can use cannons on it, although you can shoot at the ships, but they don't really do anything. They just kind of go, yeah, you did a thing, but it's not going to make the ships go away.
Does that mean that you can interact with the memories, but you can't change the past in that case?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. That kind of lends credence to Hefe then, saying that they are the memories, and that we're just kind of much like the perfect Harry Potter pensive connection. You can be there, but you're not actually changing anything, that it is all set in stone, and we are supplanting someone else in the instance that for example, Black Dog Briar, we obviously have to kill the skeletons, or not the skeleton. Oh man, I'm reverting. We have to kill the ghosts to progress the memory, but we're not actually impacting the outcome. Moving on, unless anyone has anything they want to jump on for Tall Tale 3, let's dive into Tall Tale 4 and Tall Tale 5, because I tend to look at these two as a pairing and something that should be done right after each other. But with Tall Tale 4, we got to venture out back to a coral fortress, not unlike the Sunken Kingdom, and get to roam around in some really beautiful areas. I absolutely love these areas. I love that they're areas that you can go explore anytime and just kind of enjoy. But how did everyone feel with Tall Tale 4? Did you enjoy the puzzles? Did you interact with the murals the first time through, or did it take a couple tries? What did you think of the cinematic fight at the end? And what did you think of the pipe organ in Davy Jones's a ship, as far what is it, the Flying Dutchman? My God, why am I forgetting that? What did you guys feel about that before we jump into 5?
4 was my favorite. I loved it. Just in all aspects. The fact that we got to interact with the Dutchman, you got to interact with the organ. I thought that was really cool. And then the actual Sea of Thieves lore. It was just, I mean, things that have been building and building and building and building now for years. It seems like things are finally starting to come to a head, sort of. I really, really enjoyed that. Or out of all of them, I think 4 was my favorite.
Yeah, it was definitely very Goonie-esque. When I took part in it, it was like, yeah, we're going to go down the water slide. I'm thinking Goonies, and then obviously you get the organ. It's like, oh, really? It is the Goonies then.
Yeah. If I could add one thing to that fight, I think that area, and this is something that it's a deep cut, so bear with me on this, but in the Goonies movie, there was a scene that was taken out because of the complexity of what was going on, and I can imagine that they probably had the same thing in Sea of Thieves, where it would have been fun to put this in. But in Goonies, when they slide down the waterfall and they pop out and they fall into the big pool where the ship is kind of just sitting in storage, there was intended to be a fight with a giant octopus, and it never made it to the theatrical cut. There's some clips of what it would have been like on YouTube. If you dig in, you can find that kind of stuff. While we fight the ocean crawlers, after we interact with the organ, I think it would have been really interesting if there had been point and purpose to all of the kegs that are not kegs, but the barrels that are out in the water that are chained to the floor that are just kind of floating up that you can get resources from. If there was something like Kraken tentacles that did come in alongside the ocean crustaceans and or the ocean crawlers, and you'd have to deal with, big tentacles coming up and trying to attack you on top of actually having those ocean crawlers off in the distance. Because a lot of the time it felt like I was just waiting for the next wave, and I would just shoot a couple cannons onto the thing, and then the next wave would pop up and we'd get a couple ocean crawlers hop on deck, and I would kill them. But I had plenty of time to plan all of that out. So before I even interacted with the pipe organ, I'd go and I'd gather up all the different what are they called? The tridents. So I'd get the tridents. Oh yeah, it's like the tridents of Dark Tide or something. I'd gather those up and drop them all over by the ammo crate, and I would hang out on the top 2 cannons that you can interact with on the top of the top deck, and I would just wail away at the things on the edges, and then when something would pop on deck, I would grab one of the tridents and I would kill it really quickly and then wait for the next wave. And I felt like there was a larger element, given the set piece that ship is, that was missing. And I kind of wish that they had taken a nod from the missing scene in Goonies and put it into Sea of Thieves as a way to say, like, hey, Goonies never got to have this in it. I think it would be great if we kind of retconned Goonies in Sea of Thieves to include that octopus fight as part of the One-Eyed Willie interaction on the ship. Am I off base here? Do you guys think that would be fun? Was that fight enough for you, or is that just something that would really add to the overall encounter?
I think there was probably enough going on in that fight as it was. It already went on longer than I really felt it had to.
Really?
Yeah, there was a couple times where it would kind of, there's a bit of a pause and it's like, cool, we did that. Oh no, here's some more coming again. And it's like, after the second time of that happening, it's just like, can we just be done now?
Okay, so it went on too long for you. Hefe, Munchie, what did you guys think?
As big of a room as that is, sure, something else could have been going on. I don't know if the Kraken would have been the right answer, just simply because that room was closed off. And they did it. They would have done it in a way where we could see the full body, because at this point, that Kraken is out there, and you would assume that it would be one of the same ones that we maybe have encountered before. But the fact that you can jump in the water and see and fight the sirens, it would have to have been something different than the regular world encounter of the Kraken.
Mm-hmm.
I would think.
I feel from what I've seen and what I've heard about these tall tales is that I think the Pirates of the Caribbean tall tales were just built to cater towards rares. its partnership now. That now it has the licensing to play around with the Pirates of the Caribbean, I guess you could say, title to just mess around with its world building, which I feel that our resident big boy up top would have had a lot of fun with. So they definitely nailed it in that aspect, to where it does build an environment that does captivate anyone who goes through it. It's just, of course, it's on the rails.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess for me, I was just kind of hoping that we would get that encore performance from the Kraken. We got to see it the one time in Tall Tale 2, and outside of the world event that we get, which has been in the game since launch. I would have loved to have had another opportunity to kind of, have that Kraken want to try and get us once more as kind of like you got me the first time. I'm not going to be that foolish to expose my head a second time kind of thing and just try and hit you with tentacles or something. But I can definitely respect that you don't want to have to hang around and wait for all these different waves. Time is valuable, and I can understand that for sure. Moving into Tall Tale 5, how did everyone feel about Tall Tale 5? Actually, before we jump onto Tall Tale 5, we got the Gold Hoarder again. What did you guys think of the Gold Hoarder fight with Jack Sparrow hopping around and stuff?
I like the different things that he does, like how I like kicking the crates off the ledge, and I felt a lot more live, I guess, out of everything in all those Tall Tales. I feel like that one scene there was probably one of the. It necessarily wasn't interactive. I mean, there were some things you had to do, move some beams, raise this, lower that, but having Jack kind of bouncing around doing different things, I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was really cinematic. It felt like a movie where, there's multiple things going on and you're dealing with one aspect on the deck, and, Elizabeth and Will are fighting, crustaceans on the deck while Jack is up fighting Davy Jones on a mast, on one of the spars. And it felt like one of those things where, this was like different progressions through a fight. And instead of it just being the Gold Hoarder, leaping, digging down, coming back up, sprinkling a bunch of skeletons to get spawned, and then leaping again, this felt like there were different elements that things were escalating as it went along, and more enemies were coming, and then things were changing as, cannons were being dropped and you could use them to break the shell. And then as a result, you'd actually have to fight the Gold Hoarder. And it felt like the natural progression in a fight that told a story better than most of the other types of fights that we've had against like Skeleton Lords or Ashen Lords, things like that. And I think if they decided to go further with other boss fights that are on land, I would love that. But jumping into Tall Tale 5, this was an instance where we got an opportunity to go to an area that is actually being raised from the ocean. We've never seen islands move in the game before now. How did everyone feel about this erection of this giant coral tower that came out of nowhere, and Davy Jones's cloud appear in the sky and dealing with all these ghost fleets? Was that a pretty good end for the Tall Tales? Like did this escalate to the point where you felt like you were coming to the head of all of the other Tall Tales?
I think so. I thought it looked really cool seeing that seen up out to the ocean and stuff. And when all those other ships come to join you to help, that was just like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I really love the different crewmates coming in. Pad, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that Tall Tale 5 was my favourite.
Really?
First time round. Yes. As Mina just said, having Morningstar and Pearl and
Black Witch.
That's the Black Witch, yes. Having them all spawn up, and obviously the epic music then starts. It's like I'm sat there just in awe watching it. My only addition for that would be if they can do it for the coral thing coming up and the statues coming up, why can they not do it for the portals? I know Hefe wants them gone because they're just a pain in the horizon. When you start the Tall Tales, the portals should come out of the ground, or come out of the water, sorry, rather than always being there. But yeah, Tall Tale 5, awesome.
You know, I hadn't considered that. I actually agree. I would love it if the functionality of the portals worked just like that tower. I definitely feel like the portals are an eyesore. I didn't expect those when I saw them and figured out what they were. I didn't expect those to show up even if you weren't in the regular Sea of Thieves. I was okay with a lot of the rocks that kind of spurred up out of nowhere. It kind of changed the horizon, and you had to take into account eye lines on the horizon, so you couldn't always see what was coming at you all of the time. It definitely gave crews an opportunity to sneak up on ships, but there's some great horizon image or like views that you can get. I'm thinking like the islandscapes that you can see from Sanctuary Outpost, and those portal stones, they ruin that. They really do. It's kind of frustrating to see a giant rock structure right in front of this beautiful island where used to be a really nice view of Smuggler's Bay and Picaroon Palms and Lone Cove and stuff. But kind of to stay on topic, Tall Tale 5, we got to have this really amazing culmination of Davy Jones's fleet come up with, like you mentioned, the Black Pearl, Rose and George's ship, the Black Witch. They all kind of came out and started laying siege to that. What did you guys think of working through that fight? And how does it compare to Flameheart?
I really liked having like those other crews there. That was really cool. And I guess the second phase of that fight, well, I don't know. Even with all of it, again, it just seems like, back to my one critique of all of it, I just feel like that a whole lot of work really didn't have to go into that to really progress things forward outside of shooting the giant statues of times. I mean, yeah, you had to pop some holes in some skelly ships or some ghost ships, but I mean, if you just sat there, Jack does it for you.
Yeah, Jack is definitely, if you need any long range shots taking, leave him to do it, because he will hit the shot every single time. Can't hit anything that's literally 10 yards away, but he can hit it if it's half a mile away.
Yeah, he definitely did his work on that as well too, at least up until the point where he abandons you for the Black Pearl and you're left to your own devices. What did everyone think about traversing the tower? Did that feel like a good end to that story, as far as Teodoma taking out the locket at the top of the spire? Yeah,
I thought that was pretty good. I'm still confused why what's his name's up there.
Beckett?
Yeah, Beckett. Yeah, I still don't understand how he tied into the story, unless it's going to be opening things up for things happening later on.
Yeah, I can see that. It is a weird thing, considering we hadn't seen him at all, and outside of Davy Jones, he's the only Pirates of the Caribbean villain that really encroaches on the Tall Tales, and it didn't make sense. I think your sentiment is shared among most. I mean, unless you guys tell me I'm wrong. Awesome. Well, was there anything else you guys wanted to jump into, or was there something that I missed with the Tall Tale 5s that you wanted to talk about before we head out?
I would just say, in general, I think Rare did a fantastic job. There was a fantastic story, and just all the things they've added to the game through this, and then just the scenery of all these things. Overall, amazing job. 2 thumbs way up. Really enjoyed them.
Yeah, I have to agree. They were brilliant. I liked, as was mentioned, that in Tall Tale 4, there's a bit of a culmination and a kind of head to a lot of the story that's already been happening in Sea of Thieves, and I very much look forward to seeing where that also goes. But they were all brilliant, and I loved them.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys all jumping in and sharing some thoughts. I think we had some very good criticisms on the actual Tall Tales. I think this is one of those things where it's tough to want to say anything bad, because I personally enjoyed all of them immensely. I'm still playing them over and over again. I think I'm up to like my 4th or 5th time on most of them. Just continuing to push through them and see if there's anything new that I'm missing as I kind of encroach them. And I've even been spending time with my wife, kind of moving through them little by little. And ironically enough, Hefe, one of the criticisms that you have as far as them being on rails has been one of the positive aspects of them for my playthrough with my wife, having them being kind of sectioned off and moving in a general forward direction has helped kind of give her a guiding path on what to do. I think the fort was the first time where she actually genuinely had trouble kind of working out where she needed to go, what needed to be done, what the next step was. And she would kind of run around looking for something to interact with because it wasn't abundantly clear. Like I think we got stuck on the well for quite a while because she found the lock pick, but she didn't discover the hole in the well that you have to swim through. So I was trying to give her like subtle hints on what to do at that point. So as far as like, for seasoned pirates, this is going to be a piece of cake for those that are jumping into it. Hopefully you're learning some good mechanics that will help translate into adventure mode. I think that while this has been a great show for what Sea of Thieves can do to tell a story, I'm very curious what the next set of Tall Tales will give us. Because there's definitely been some lessons learned from the original 10 plus the future 3 that I think they put out that have shown that they've understood what works and what doesn't work with Tall Tales. And I'm looking forward to seeing whatever lessons that they learned from making these 5 and how those translate into future Tall Tales. As we leave, I'm very curious, Munchie, do you think we're getting any future Tall Tales in the near future?
Yes, because I know they're not done with that at all. No, they're gonna give us new Tall Tales. Whether or not it's soon though, depending on whether or not it will continue the Flameheart saga or build upon Pirates of the Caribbean. Because I feel like everything going forward is gonna tie in with the latest incursion into the Sea of Thieves with Davy Jones and all that. But I think if they build upon how they did the last Flameheart Telltale and then the way they did Shores of Gold, where yes, there's a lot of things you can discover, you can figure things out really easily. It's not entirely linear, but it's not also on the rails either, if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, definitely.
But I do definitely feel that they will bring a Tall Tale, another one soon, but not as soon as I would hope.
Okay. Hefe, if we get new Tall Tales, do you think that we're going to be fighting Davy Jones again?
I hope not before we have some kind of conclusion with Flameheart.
Okay.
He can come back. It's fine. I'm okay with that. But I want some actual Sea of Thieves lore next.
Ooh, fair. Mina, who's actually the captain? Is it the cursed captain?
No, I don't know. There's so many different options.
I feel like you know.
You don't know.
I feel like you know.
It's me.
Mina Ferry confirmed to be the captain.
No. I'm not sure yet. I would have to dig more deeply into it a bit. I'm not sure yet.
Do you want a new baddie or do you want Flameheart over first?
I kind of want Flameheart over first. He's so annoying. And I'm obviously that storyline has kind of gotten so far, but it's not done. I would like that. I do think that in the Tales of the Sea of Thieves, then there is a mention of a captain, and I wonder if maybe he might show up at some point to help. I don't know if he's going to be a baddie or on our side. There's so many things that they still have to kind of tie up a little bit or just add a little bit more to, that it could be anything.
That's fair. Very true. Leaving it to the last member, Big Bad Pad. If you're in charge of the next 2 Tall Tales and you get to decide where they are set. The portals allow us to teleport anywhere thanks to the help with Jack and his treasure. Where are the next two Tall Tales going to take place?
I think going back to Hefe's talking about obviously the expansion of the map, I think we need to have some more mermaid siren action. That sounded wrong, but there you go. Also, I hate to say it, but I think I'm going to agree with Caleb that I think the captain is you in Skelly form, and you are bad.
Oh, no.
I think we're going to be going down. And yes, I would very much like one of them to be the end of Flameheart, because I am fed up of seeing his ugly mug in the sky and getting shouted at when I sail through his fleet. I can see Disney being involved. I just hope that it is more, say, a Sea of Thieves than it is Disney. I think hopefully Disney have seen how well Rare can tell a story and take a back seat with the next 2 or 3 that come out.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna say this was a good episode. I really loved having you all join me. We don't get to talk as much as I want, and I definitely appreciate you all being here and sharing your thoughts. Munchie, welcome. You're very new to our group, but I really thought you had some good points and some good opinions there. So thank you for joining. Hefe, as always, thank you. I appreciate everything that you do for the community. Mina and Big Bad Pad, you are the two across the seas, and I wish you guys were closer so that it would make visiting you a lot easier than trying to book a flight to join over or to fly over to England and spend time with you. But I'm hoping that will actually be a thing next year with the SOT Fest.
Are you planning on coming over to Sea of Thieves Fest then?
I am planning on coming. Whether that actually works out,
because what we're planning on doing is coming over to FA Fest.
Hefe Fest
At some point, either next year
I'm
or
not.
year after, we are coming. Yes, we are, Mina. We are coming over to visit Hefe and a lot of the late night crew and the late night crew. And Hefe is doing all the cooking.
I've been hearing rumor of this.
I'm ready.
What are
I'm
you?
ready. Let's do it.
What are you cooking, Hefe? What can I expect?
I have no idea. I just got to come up with a menu. Whatever y'all want. I can do it all.
As long as it's not bananas, we're okay.
That's fine. I had an interesting thought about how we are okay putting cheese on a hamburger, which is beef, but we don't put cheese on a steak unless you call it a Philly cheesesteak, in which case it's okay. So Hefe, maybe we could cook up a steak and I can throw a slice of American cheese on top and see if people get freaked out.
If you do a really good Parmesan crust on a steak, it's actually really good.
Ah, that sounds amazing. All right, well, I'm going to go get food because now I'm hungry. Thank you, Munchie, Hefe, Mina, Pad. Thank you all so much for joining me. I love you all. I appreciate you all so much. It means the world that we get to do this every month. Think of some next topics that you guys want to talk about, unless we get some new news and you guys want to talk about that. I think our next one is going to be August 28th. That is the last Saturday of the month. It's going to be around 11 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. British Standard Time. Is British Standard Time an hour ahead of GMT right now?
Yes.
Okay, so it's 8 p.m. GMT, 4 a.m. if you're in one of the 3 time zones that Australia has, because it has weird half-hour time zones for some reason. Unless you're in New Zealand, which is an hour behind that. But anyway, I love you guys. Thank you all so much for joining, and we will adjourn for now, and I will see you all in a month.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.
Are you into the cyberpunk tabletop games or excited for Cyberpunk 2077? Are you looking to brush up on the lore, stay up on all the latest news, and talk about the game when it comes out? Check out the Cyberpunk Lorecast, a show from Robots Radio with me, your host, Robots. We'll go over all the details you need to know about the world, characters, and story of Cyberpunk. Available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Hey Guardians, we are the Destiny Show Podcast, a weekly podcast about all things Destiny 2. We invite amazing guests from the Destiny community to share their stories and discuss the latest topics from the world of Destiny. Check us out on Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, or live on Twitch every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We will see you Starside.